Think about the last thing you were obsessed with. Maybe it was the gym, or painting, or learning Spanish, or writing a book you told 3 people about. Where is that thing now? Be honest. For most people watching this, it is sitting somewhere, gathering dust, unfinished, quietly judging you every time you walk past it. And the worst part? It is not the first time. There's a pattern. You start with fire. You feel it in your chest. You buy the book. You watch the tutorials. You tell people. And for a brief, beautiful window, you feel like this is it. And then the fire goes out. Not gradually. Suddenly, like someone flicked a switch. And you're left standing there wondering what is wrong with you. Nothing is wrong with you, but something is happening inside your brain, and once you understand it, everything changes. In 1965, a psychologist named Martin Seligman ran an experiment. Dogs were placed in a box divided into 2 sides. One side gave a small electric shock, the other, nothing. The dogs could jump over a low barrier and escape the discomfort at any time. But here's the thing. The dogs that had previously been shocked with no escape, they didn't even try. They just lay down and accepted the pain. Seligman called it learned helplessness. And here's what nobody tells you. Quitting early creates the exact same pattern in humans. Every time you started something and walked away, every time the frustration rose and you put the thing down, your brain took a note. This is what we do when it gets hard. It was not a character flaw. It was training. You trained yourself to quit. And the worst part? The training happened in the most innocent moments. The chapter that was too confusing. The workout that burned too much. The song that would not sound right on the guitar no matter how many times you practiced it. Each one of those moments was a fork in the road. And you chose the same path every time. Now, before you close this video and feel terrible about yourself, I need you to understand why this happens. Because the reason is not weakness. The reason is biology. Your brain runs on dopamine. Dopamine is not the pleasure chemical. That's a myth. Dopamine is the anticipation chemical. It spikes when something feels new, when the outcome is uncertain, when you're discovering. When you pick up a new skill, photography, coding, piano, the dopamine floods in because you're going from 0 to something. Progress is fast. Everything feels like a revelation. And then you hit the plateau. The plateau is the phase where the basics are learned and real mastery begins. But real mastery is slow, quiet, unglamorous. And to a brain addicted to the rush of the beginning, it feels like dying. In her book, Grit, psychologist Angela Duckworth followed thousands of people, West Point cadets, spelling bee champions, rookie teachers in tough schools, and tried to figure out what made some push through when others walked away. She expected talent to be the answer. It wasn't. She expected intelligence. It wasn't that either. The people who succeeded had one thing in common. They had learned to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Not because they were made differently, but because they had practiced it. And this is where neuroscience becomes incredibly interesting. Deep inside your brain, there is a region called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex. Scientists sometimes call it the AMCC, but let's just call it your resistance muscle. This region activates in one specific situation, when you do something you do not want to do. When you're tired, but you keep reading. When the session is boring, but you stay anyway. When your brain screams stop, and you say 5 more minutes. That's your resistance muscle doing a rep. And like any muscle, if you never put weight on it, it shrinks. Research on what scientists call superagers, people in their 70s and 80s with the mental sharpness of someone 40 years younger, found something remarkable. Their resistance muscle? Just as thick as a 25-year-old's. Not because of genetics, because of a lifetime of choosing hard over easy. which means a 70-year-old who has lived a difficult life may have more mental endurance than a 22-year-old who has never been challenged. Let that sit, because here's what this means for you. Every time you quit at the first sign of friction, you're not just abandoning the hobby, you're shrinking your ability to push through anything: the guitar, the language, the business, the relationship. The pattern follows you. Now I need to do something uncomfortable. I need to draw a line, because there are two very different reasons people quit, and they are not the same thing. The first kind of quitting is wisdom. In his book, The Dip, Seth Godin writes about knowing when to walk away, when a path is genuinely a dead end, not just a difficult stretch. Strategic quitting is not failure, it is discernment. But the second kind? The second kind is when you quit because your ego got bruised, when you were not as good as you expected, as fast as you wanted, when someone else seemed further along, when you felt foolish. That kind of quitting is just fear wearing a costume, and you have to be brutally honest with yourself about which one it is. Ask yourself, did I genuinely explore this thing? Or did I leave the moment it stopped feeling effortless? Did I quit because it was the wrong path, or because the right path got steep? There is no shame in the honest answer, but you have to know which one it is, because they require completely different responses. There is one more thing working against you that nobody talks about. We live in the most stimulating environment in human history. Every app on your phone was designed by a team of engineers whose entire job was to make sure you never felt bored. Every scroll gives you a hit. Every notification is a tiny reward. Your brain has been calibrated to expect constant noise. So when you sit down to practice a skill, something quiet, slow, frustrating, your brain does not experience it as difficulty. It experiences it as withdrawal. In his book, Deep Work, Cal Newport makes an argument that the ability to tolerate boredom is one of the most valuable and rare skills a person can develop. Not because boredom is noble, but because boredom is the doorway. When your brain has nothing competing for its attention, when the noise clears, something remarkable happens. You start to actually absorb what you're learning. The frustration that felt like a wall, it turns into a breakthrough. But you have to sit with the discomfort long enough to find out. And most people never do.
So here is what I want you to actually do. Not a vague idea, a specific method. Step 1. Pick one thing. Just one. Not your calling, not your passion, just something you are genuinely curious about. Commit to 6 months. Step 2. Use what I call the 15% push. When you feel the urge to quit mid-session, and you will, do not force yourself to continue for hours. That is too heavy. You will hurt yourself and walk away for good. Instead, push 15% further. You plan to read 10 pages and you want to stop at page 3? Read to page 4. Then stop. You planned 30 minutes of practice and your brain is done at 12? Do 14. Then stop. That tiny gap between where you wanted to quit and where you actually stopped, that is the rep. That is how you rebuild your resistance muscle. Step 3. Lower the noise. During your practice sessions, phone in another room. No music with lyrics, no background TV. Let yourself feel the boredom. Don't run from it. Sit in it. Let it pass. Because on the other side of boredom is the state where real learning happens, where the skill actually moves into you. In Robert Pirsig's novel, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, he writes about a moment where a student is stuck on an essay, completely blank. Nothing comes. The teacher tells her, start with one brick. Just one brick on one building on one street. And suddenly, she cannot stop writing. The problem was never a lack of ideas. The problem was that she was trying to hold the whole thing at once. That is what quitting early is. It is trying to hold the whole mountain before you have learned to lift a stone. You are not a quitter. You are undertrained. And undertrained is fixable. 1 rep at a time. 1 15% push at a time. 1 session of sitting with the discomfort instead of running from it. Pick the one thing. Lift the weight and stay in the room long enough to meet the person on the other side of the plateau. That person has been waiting for you for a long time. See you in the next one.